So let's get started. And I'm going to take some clean water and wet the top of this as best I can around the top of the iris, both of them. So I'm taking a pretty big brush to do this. I just changed my mind. I'm getting a big brush so I can do this a little faster. So what I'll do with this big brush is get up close to the iris tops, and then I'll come in with a smaller brush to get right up to the edges. It'll be a lot faster than trying to use this big one for the edges. Now I can go ahead, in fact I want to go ahead and wet the bottom parts of both of these because they will have some color on them that can kind of merge into other colors, and that's what I want. I like that. There's lots of ways you can do this, as you all know. There's many ways to skin a cat for each painting you do, and you just have to decide how you want to do it, the best way for you, and the best way that it will potentially work. There's always the other side of the paper. I wouldn't want to have to draw this thing over again, though. This was murder. The more I looked at it, the more complicated it got. So maybe there's a simple iris out there you could start with. I don't know. Okay, now I meant to just wet over the bottom, and there I am painting around it all. Now these shadow parts, big, large shadow parts, for instance, right in there and right in there, I can go ahead and wet those, because if other colors gets in on those, I don't mind. I don't think I mind. By the way, we are welcoming one of my neighbors from Colorado. Her name is Jane Rising. Hi, Jane. And she's my neighbor and is an expert seamstress and quilter. And she's dabbled in some watercolor, so I told her I would send her this. So, Jane, I'm sure the class would say hi to you if they were able to. They're very nice. So we'll just kind of go along. I'm double wetting this now to keep it wet longer. That's a good way to do it. Just go over it again, and the paper will hopefully stay wet longer. Also, we have another Colorado artist here, Anne Chandu. You might remember Anne from class. Well, I'm sure if you were in class, you would remember Anne. But she moved to Colorado, and so this is for her too. So hi, Anne. We miss you. Okay, now let's go in, like I said, with a little smaller brush and just get in those little crevices. And I don't think you can see this on the video, but when I come up to the dry paper, the water just kind of rolls off and goes somewhere else. And that's a good thing, except I don't want it to go too far. Okay, we're about ready to start. Now, I want to be sure, and I'm kind of talking to you and myself at the same time, I want to be sure and remember to drop in a lot of purple and magenta in the background. And I don't care if it ends up looking purple and magenta or not, I want it to just be there. I want its presence. So that might not be a bad idea to start with, because when the paper is wet, like this, really wet, before it's had a chance to dry at all, the colors will be lighter, and so I won't get a screaming purple in the background. That could be bad, because instead of indicating other flowers back there, it could cause the background to come forward on us. We don't want that. So, as I said, I'm going to use a little of the quinacridone magenta. I'm going to test this over here. I think I'll put a little more water with that, just to make sure it doesn't look that pink and when we put other things with it and everything. Right now it does look pink, I'll admit that. Well, I think I brought a little bug home with me from outdoors. There's a little creature flying around here. That happens, you know. Okay, so I'm just kind of putting it around so it balances, but and I can go ahead and put some on the iris itself. I do have some places I want to keep very light, so I'm going to try to not put it over them. And this is where you really have to speed it up. You want to get everything in while it's wet, and I'm still going to paint around the white parts. And I am going to go to some green in a minute. I just want to get this on. And this is ultramarine, let's see, what was I using? Cobalt blue. I'm using ultramarine, I meant to use cobalt. It doesn't matter, they're very similar. And getting all my little edges done. I can go over that. And when I'm doing the background, I did not go ahead and draw any more leaves in, or even decide where I wanted them. I decided I want to wait on that and just, the reason is I felt like, now this is Windsor Lemon, Windsor Lemon, yellow. I felt like I would be painting around them also, and it would just be too many things to worry about when I was doing this part. And so I'm going to probably draw them in later. But I am making some strokes that are kind of iris leaf like versus other strokes. Okay, let's get some paint on let's see, permanent magenta. I'll show you what I'm going to be doing is this iris here. I'm just going to get a little paint on it. Whoa, that is really strong by itself, isn't it? I'll put a little bit of blue with that. So I'm trying to kind of see where it goes. It's just out at the edges of this, which makes it even more difficult, of course. And my flower is dry. I probably could have wet the edges of this flower, because now I'll have to soften the edge. That's okay. Can't think of everything, so let's run in there real quick. Clear water and just soften these. Okay, now back to the yellow with some of the cobalt. And I want, this is my non-major flower, so this will give me a soft edge. I don't want them all soft, but some of them I do, because this is the flower we don't care much, well, I won't say we don't care much about it. I do. I really do care about you. And you better turn out right. But it needs more soft edges than the other one. Okay, now I've kind of come into the flower too much right there, so I'm going to take my little flat brush and dry it off on the paper towel and just lift back like that. Okay, now let's keep going here. I want to get some color on the big iris too. So let me mix the magenta. I'll put the magenta down first. This could be a disaster because it's so strong, but let's see what happens here. Magenta down first, and all of this is in shadow. I wish I could have the photo where you could see it too all the time, but I wanted this to be, the paper to be as big as possible so you could see everything I was doing. So it had to be one or the other. Okay, here's the, ooh. I bet Linda Mickleby likes this one. Huh, Linda? I'm going to have to do some softening on here too. And now I'm going in a stroke that's like visualizing what the little veins would look like, the little ripples and the direction they're going, because I sure can't see it in the photo. That's why you need to be out there. However, as I have said, the irises move, and they really do. My irises moved this morning too. They just move. I guess they get tired. The sun does something to them. I don't know why they move, but they do. So all of a sudden you are not painting what you were a minute before. It's really interesting. Okay, now I'm going to let this go right off into the background. And before this dries, I want to soften it a little bit because I'm going to move on down now. Now what happens when we put yellow and purple together? We all know it turns gray. But down here, it might be nice to have a gray. So that's why I'm going right to the yellow, and then I'll go back to the cobalt blue. Nope. I think I'll put a little bit of yellow in it. Remember, my light is coming from the left. So we have to think about that all the time. Coral blue, my paper's drying. Darn it. It doesn't stay wet as long as I want it to, ever. At least we got some softness in there. Let's see here. This right here. I'm having trouble finding where I am. Oh, I see. Okay, so this is a negative space. I can go ahead and put some of the green in. I wanted to ripple it like the iris really is. There we go. Okay. Now, since my paper's drying, what I don't want to do is go any farther on the background. So I'm going to go up and put some of the shadows on the white part of the iris. I just noticed, though, that my where I lifted this white off, because I'm upright like this, it just ran back in, so I'm trying to get a little back. Okay, so let's do some shadows. I've tried to draw them in as best I could, and I'm going to start down with the kind of peachier beige, I guess you'd call it beige, that I made. And what I did with the buff titanium, that's not going to be dark enough, is it? Okay, let's mix some more ultramarine with it. So we've got ultramarine, buff titanium, and in this one I'm putting a little more touch of red in it. Let's see what that looks like. Well, it's a little darker. Yeah, let's just go with this. Now, what I plan to do here, wish I could tell what this was, is go a little bit of a ways and then put some reflected light right there. like this being, a little yellow being reflected up from this hairy thing. I never looked up the name of it. I meant to do that so I could impress everybody with my terminology, but I forgot. So we'll just call it the hairy thing for now. Maybe I'll remember to look it up. And the little thing is in shadow, which I'll make more of that later, but I just wanted you to see why I wanted to reflect some of the yellow. And I don't know what happens up here, but there is, interesting. There's some yellow in here. I guess the inside of this iris is yellow. So that's pretty, it's pretty yellow. I want it a little creamier, so I'm gonna add some Naples yellow to that. Okay. Well, let's go to another shadow. And it looks like there's one back here. Still don't feel like this is dark enough, but you know what? It's a shadow on white, and I always say a shadow on white can't be very dark, so I'm going to go with this because we don't have any darks in here yet to compare it to around the, you know, the background or anything. So I'm just going to go with that. Okay, now this is my shadow, actually runs like that. Okay. And then up there. Well, I actually like that better than the one over there. I might just add to it. There we go. The danger is if you try to judge how dark something is before you get the other darks, the danger is getting it too dark to start with because you think it looks dark, but it's not really dark compared to the darks back there. Not that I'm going to do the yard with trees in it for background, but it's not that dark. And, you know, this is the type thing that if, you know, I can't tell what's going on with these petals, I'm just going to put paint on it. I just can't figure it out. If I were out there, I think I could. I could tell what was happening. It is darn near impossible with these flowers. I do hope you all get outside to paint these. There's that. Now, before anything, it looks kind of like a spider, doesn't it? I'm going to soften these before all this dries. I better do it in a hurry. And I want to also reflect just a tiny bit of purple in some of these shadows, because there must be purple in the flower under it. That's why we see some purple. Okay, now let's get the brush going and soften things up. By the way, I doubt if I will leave these white, but a tiny little wash over them later will be easy to do. Just right over the shadows and everything, maybe leave some little edges of white, but I don't think the white paper is the answer this time. I think we'll end up getting rid of it. Okay, well that was fun. Now let's do that one. So, buff titanium, I'm not going to put any red in this one. I'm just going to put the buff titanium, a little yellow ochre, and a little ultramarine blue. And do this one. So let's see here. That's there. Got to figure out where I am again. There's a shadow there, cast shadow. Before these get too dry, I want to be sure and put some little bit of the purple magenta in them. It's wise to draw these in. The only problem is then you can't really tell what is iris and what's shadow and what's, you just can't tell anything. This is a heck of a flower, but I'm going to quit complaining because I'm the one who decided I wanted to paint this. Shouldn't complain. Okay, now not that far, and then I see a tiny bit of magenta. I should use, you know what, I'm going to use a Cad Red Light in here instead of the magenta because it's inside the flower, and when I squint it doesn't jump out as being pink magenta or something. It doesn't jump out that much, so let's not use magenta. I'm going to go ahead and paint this weird little thing in here. I also don't know the name of it, so I'll find that out. And now let's do some softening. You know what? I think I'm going to, just for the heck of it, put just a little bit of, and you can't even see this, I don't think, but a little bit of yellow and then maybe a little tiny bit of green in the shadow. I see green in this one right here. At least I think I do. Okay. Now, soften the edge. I'm just barely running my point of my brush over this edge. This one, I'm going to have some nice pencil marks to try to get rid of later too. Okay, here we go. Let's get over the other side. It's there. Trying to tell where I am again. So this will start giving it some of its form. Now I'm going to add, tiny bit of ultramarine blue, more ultramarine blue, right in here. It's really, it's not that blue. Now this makes it look more green. Now I'll go back to my non-green mixture. This really has more yellow in it, so I'll put a little more yellow ochre in this one. Doesn't look like I did, does it? I think there's light at the end of the tunnel because I can kind of almost tell better where I am now that I've got some of it done. Kind of. I want that to glow a little more, put a little more yellow in it. I'm going to leave the top of the little hairy thing white for now. This is not easy. But fun. Whoops. I very carefully drew that little light out, and then I went right over it. Darn it. I like that. Excuse me. Darn it. Stupid little bug. Okay, let's see. Okay, now I want to go on the other side of this. There's another dark back there. It kind of matches this one right here, so I want to get that in. Whatever it is back there. Okay. Now I want to bring that kind of reddish up in that vein. So I'm mixing a little green into the red. The green was right there on the palette, so I'm using it to gray that red. It's kind of dark right over here. This is a beautiful flower. This was from the ones that Dana, she went over to on Waterview. It was Waterview, just north of Arapahoe, and I went over there and took pictures because I had my paints with me, but I would have had to literally camp out in these people's yard to paint them, and they would have let me, but it was full sun, and I thought, no. They were very nice, and I learned a lot about irises. I didn't learn the names of anything, but I learned about fertilizer and stuff. Okay, I'm leaving a little bitty white. I might as well go ahead and paint behind it. And then there's another petal back here. Behind it. Okay, these are kind of starting to take shape. See some green. Let's see, my little red, reddish vein starts turning more bluish here. And then I actually see more yellow ochre in it. I think once you start looking more and more, you start seeing more and more color, that is. Especially if you're outdoors. It's amazing what you can see outdoors if you just keep looking at something. Yeah, I see blue again. And I'm doing an old watercolor thing, it's not a trick, technique, that's the word I was looking for. Just a minute, I'll show you what it is. Finish this. And get more blue right there. And get this this one down. This is really, now I'm really not getting into my original mixture. I'm in just the blue. These shadows are really fun. They're great shapes. That's what prompted me to take this photo. Not only was it a beautiful flower, but the shapes of the shadows were just wonderful. And that is the kind of stuff that I love. Okay, now I can tell you what I was doing, the technique. The technique I was talking about was something you probably learned in a book or somewhere. And it is simply, I can show you right here, this is better. Taking your brush, pointed brush, going along, pressing down and coming back up like that. And that's what I was doing in some of these shadows, starting really small, pressing down and coming back up. So it's a good thing to get a different stroke than all your other strokes. Okay. Now, I see the need here. Well, no, I'm not going to do that yet. I see the need to put some a tone over this white, but I'm going to not let myself do it yet, because later I need to get more things going in the background and more on the purples to really know if that's what I need to do. So I'm not going to let myself do it just because I think I need it now. All right, let's do this. Let's go into the background. I want to adjust some of these shadows that I just put on, but I'm not going to do it because it's just not time. I don't want to darken them because of the reason I just said earlier. I don't really know if they need to be darkened because I don't have any darks in painting. So let's get some darks in painting. Might be a good idea. I have, as I said yesterday, my sketch. I know you all can't see the sketch because I had to put it right there. So what I have going here is this kind of S curve. So when I'm adding some darks, that's a good way to add them, is kind of think about your S curve. But you don't want to end up with a dark S. But that's just good, and that's where the flowers are, and I need some darks at least behind the light sides of the flowers, those white petals. So, with that said, I'm going to mix up some green, and I'm going to put some out here, and then it can be behind this light side of the white one, and maybe weave over there or down like that. So I'm mixing, oh dear, I am mixing a little phthalo green and a little tiny bit of cad red, which I just got too much of and had to back out of it, and a little bit of, use either cad yellow or any yellow, really. Now what I want to do is start following my little ripples. And if I create some new ones, that's okay. Now, go a little ways and maybe change colors a little. I'll put some red in there since we've used a little red here. It's not totally foreign to the whole painting. So keep stepping back to see what your result is, so you can change it quickly if it's not what you want. I'll bring it over here with some yellow, and then I think the safest thing, I'm on a trend to go down this way, so I think I'll soften that edge right there so I don't have to deal with this over here at the same time. Another thing I could do, I could squirt it very lightly and just give that background a little bit of texture. And then maybe drop in some blues. And I'm just trying to do some things while it's still wet to, whoa, well, that is, guess what? Windsor lemon. I don't think I don't know. Well, it might be okay. I forgot I put some fresh paint out. There it is. Okay, let's see. I want to see about this petal. It comes up. I'm trying to figure out what this did. Oh, I painted over a whole petal there, didn't I? Oh no. This would be a good time for me to show you how to correct something anyway. I need to get it back because that's background right there. And that is part of the petal. So my petal was right here. Okay, so we'll just get that back and it'll be a soft edge. There I was complaining about my pencil marks being so hard. Of course I've got phthalo green in here, wouldn't you know? But we have a friend, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. Just for such occasions. Yeah, he's going to help. And maybe God wanted me to have a soft edge there, so that's what I did. Okay, so that petal's going to be there. And for right now, I'm going to go somewhere else and leave him to dry. So, let's go on down. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, we'll go on down here. This is my little bud. And I want to have a little bitty light, tiny little sliver of light on him, on the left side, and on this bud that's kind of trying to come out. And that can be some stuff in the background, just for more interest. Mark? That's what we were talking about. You don't know what's back there, but it's not just a flat, nothing, background. There's something back there. Leave it to the viewer's imagination. Okay, mix up a little more green. Forgot about this down here. Need to keep this going. So I think I'm going to use some more, repeat the cobalt blue that I've been using in this mixture for the purple. Just put some of that in there. I'm stepping back. I kind of like the red. I don't want to cover it up, so I'm going to soften this edge. This will be good to repeat, as I said, this red and this orangey color inside the, whatever you call that thing. So I'm going to leave it for now. Okay, so I'm coming on down with maybe a little green. And purple, we're coming up against a purple. So I could lighten this just a little bit with some yellow. Except I do need to go around this the hairy thing with some kind of dark. And then I'll go back to my yellowish and maybe a little bit of the red. Okay. This is back to being fun again now. I keep looking back at my petal and he's going to be, okay, the one I lost. All right, now we can go back. I think I'd like to work, well, since I'm working upright, I better start at the top and go down instead of working and trying to push it up. That's not going to work the way I'm working. So I'll just keep going up here, and I like that little bit of red, and there I want to kind of run it, and I've got pink up there, so I might just see what happens. I can always cover this up if it doesn't work. If it comes, what you don't really want it to do is to come forward too much. So it very well could. But I don't know that yet. I do know that I want it softer. Okay. All right, now, I'm squinting, and I like the pattern that I see, and I like that little thing. But this is a good pattern, I think. And then my stem for this iris is going to go over this way, so it'll kind of complete my S curve like that, I hope. Okay, let's get some blue. I'm using the cobalt blue, a lot more than the ultramarine. I don't think I've used the ultramarine actually. I'm trying to get in there without getting my hand in the way of the painting. I'm sorry if I am. My hand has to be somewhere though. Okay, now I see the need before it dries for a soft edge. An edge is calling. This edge right here. I'm going to take my flat brush, squeeze the water out like that, and then just soften. I like that a lot better. That's going to be too hard of an edge. Even if I put a little wash over that white, it's still going to be too hard up there near the corner. So that's why I wanted to get rid of it. Nip it in the bud, you might say. Let's see. This is. Trying to see what this petal does. Okay, show. Okay, so I can come on down and not destroy another petal like I did. And the red. I like the red. I don't know why. Well, it's not really red because it's got a lot of. I'm mixing it into the green mixture every time I touch it, so it's not really red. But I think it's kind of good to have. And I wish that were one of the hairy things because I just made a perfect one by accident, but it's not where one should go, so I've got to get rid of it. Darn it. Don't you hate that when you have something that's so cool and then it's wrong. I can't tell what happens there. I think it's purple. Oh gosh, I don't know. I think I'll just get rid of it. Nobody will ever know what that's supposed to be back there. Okay, now let's keep going. So this is purple, or magenta, more magenta than the purple iris is. So I'm going to take the magenta and a tiny bit of the cobalt blue, and right now I'm going to put a little bitty edge right there, and then soften. There. I like that. Okay. Now this down here though is purple. I'll show you. This is in shadow. So really I can get the real purple out for right here. I mean the real, it's too purple, it's magenta. I need it more magenta. Put too much blue. It's a great shadow right there. The reason I'm putting it on right now is I want to know how light or dark to go in the background. And I need to know what it's up against. So the answer to that is, I think I'll stay with what I have. Which is the kind of reddish, and I can merge it in to that purple I just put down and soften that purple just a little bit. Because do I want to look over here? Not really. So I might also put some green in there and gray it down just a little. And we're back on track again. Someday I will be finished with this background. Now what I see the need for, before I go any farther, and I wouldn't see that if I hadn't stepped back. It's kind of risky, but I want to throw in some of the magenta. I just feel like we're getting so much yellow-green in here, and yellow-green loves red-purple or red-violet. So that was a little bit dry to put in there, but I'm softening that edge with a thirsty brush, and it ought to be okay. I like that. And it kind of almost, this is kind of going out, and this is almost kind of pointing back in. Maybe I'm imagining that, but it seems to me like that's what's happening. Okay, get back to my green, New Gamboge, phthalo green, and a little burnt sienna, or cad red will work. I'm actually doing more of the cad red. Let's see. Okay, there's a negative area right there before the little, oopsie, there's my leaf I nearly lost. Well, he'll just have a different point than he was supposed to. Okay, I kind of like the, what I might make this be is a darker green down here and leave it kind of lighter. I was originally thinking the opposite when I started, but I got too much yellow up there to make that really dark. So this will be better anyway, because I think if it's darker down in the lower third, it sits down better. You know, like there's a ground down there somewhere instead of, oh boy, this is where I need my red. See that right there? That's horrible. There we go. Okay. Now, let's get into some yellow green and then some purple, because we're going to have a lot of purple right here and then magenta up there, so I need to get into that in the background, maybe a dark purple. Oh, please make this work. It's scary to put this in. Okay. Now let's blend it in with the what's around it, and I think we'll be okay. Maybe this could be little purple buds somewhere. Okay, now I hope that works later. Right now I like it, but you never know what it'll look like later because we don't have the rest of this done. So we have to just wait and see. But I think I better put that leaf in that's next to it. And then you can see better, maybe. So let's continue. First I'll continue negative painting that stem right there. And then we'll go down to the leaf. I want a little bitty light sliver on a stem, which I put purple over. I didn't really mean to do that, but it just happened. Maybe I can get it back. And then what I really want to do is get a little bit darker over here because this is my major flower. So I'll darken the green just a little bit. And put a little ultramarine blue in it too. Okay. Now, for heaven's sake, one thing is just be very careful not to make your irises too stiff. After I had my talk about the drawing with straight lines at the beginning, I started worrying that some of you wouldn't get rid of the straight lines, and these are very curvy flowers, so that's just the easy way to draw them. And once you have them drawn, then you can curve them. I'll leave that. So that's what I was talking about. Oh yeah, that's gonna work, I think. I'm going to get that big petal in there. Now iris petals, they're pretty green. This camera lied with this green, I think. It made it very, very, very green. And of course it was kind of backlit. I got over to where the sun was on that side of me to shoot these. So maybe that was really the color they were, but I don't know. I'm not going to make them that color. But I do want to leave a little sliver. Oops. I want to get a little yellow on the very edge. And then come in with the green. Well, that didn't work. When I say it didn't work, what I mean is didn't work like I wanted. I want the yellow to show up. And I think because it had the purple wash or whatever was under the yellow made it not show up. And so I can go over it with my my little flat brush and lift some, I hope. Hope I'm not getting in your way, but I have to get close to this. What is that? Okay. Again, I'm losing my way here. Oh, I see. It's background and leaf. Well, we'll just let them kind of merge together. They should. Okay, and then do this. I'm going to put a little bit of red right up here where this green kind of got away from me. And then we can take the flat brush, squeeze it out, and see if I can get this yellow to show up. That's better. And it doesn't have to be like a light stripe or something. I just wanted a light. Okay, now what I want to do is do the what all goes under here, and then we've really pretty well isolated these flowers as their shape. Once we get that background finished, I think I'll let you all catch up to me. Okay, quit messing with that. Now, I'm looking at the color or the light and dark of this flower before I do the background, and right here, where I am right here, is pretty light purple. So I'm okay with the dark, but as it gets dark down here, which it will, it's not yet, I'm going to get lighter as I go down, I think. Okay, so let's back to the dark. This isn't good. I've got dark on one side of the stem and light over here, so I need to darken that or lighten that. Something. Okay. And this is the stem, so what I want to do, the stem comes through. Oh, I thought I had yellow on my brush. Not exactly. The stem comes through, and I want to show the light on the stem. Checking my sketch. Okay. Now we got some leaves coming in here. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. Well, I didn't do too much wrong, but that's that little, what do you call it? Excuse me. The thing, the bulb thing that's right, that the iris blooms out of. What you call it? I'm sorry, I don't know what I call anything. But I didn't want to put green on it. It's kind of more of a, it is kind of green, but it's a very light green. And then I'll put a little shadow side over here. Okay, back to this. That's this leaf. It really doesn't matter what this is. It's all background. And background is what? That's right, background. this right here is a negative area of dark. So I need to put that in, and it doesn't matter if it kind of fuzzes up a little bit, it's still a negative area dark. So let's put it in, and that will help form our little bulb thing. And I'll put it over here too. That's, what is that? Oh, gosh, it's kind of part of my flower. Okay, so let me paint around that. What's that? It goes like that. Okay, and then I think I'll go darker right over there, and then put a cast shadow across this leaf under the iris. To kind of join with the background. And then go back to the purple right here that's in the background wash. Put a little more of my red. Now this is going to be a real light. It was before I painted over it, and then this is a dark. So I want to get light again right there. So I'll just kind of lose that edge. And then I might have to get Mr. Magic Eraser out again because I love that little light I lost right there. I was so careful. I don't know what happened. But I am going to get some of it back, I think. I won't get it all back, but I got some of it back. I'll let that dry and then I'll get that real dark under it. So, I would love to go on with this, but I think I'll let you all catch up and look at this with a fresh eye and get back from it. Another thing I said yesterday about putting a mat on it, and this is a good time to do that. So we'll put a little bit of a mat. You probably can't see the top of the mat, but I'm checking the, yeah, it looks okay, because I had wanted it originally to go out here, well, in my value sketch is what I planned. So it goes out over here, and we come in here, and we go over here, and then it'll go out over here. The easel isn't holding the mat up quite high enough, so that top petal up there will go out, and I think it has a nice, sweep to it. And as I said, these irises are very curvy flowers, so anything we can do to accentuate the curves and the feel of the curvy flower, we're trying to get a feeling here, and a movement, because as I said, they do move. I'm going to put, oops, can't do it yet. Yep, I'm okay, because my purple right here is going to be light purple, so I am going to repeat this purple back here. When I stepped back, I just saw the need for that. I like that. And then I told you all I was going to lighten this part right here. And then we'll take a little breather and you all can catch up, because now you've gotten the background just about blocked in, as I call it. It's not finished probably, but it's blocked in. And we can easily now, more easily see the irises. And I'm going to put a shadow on that little bulb thing. And I'll make it my goal to go learn the names of some of these poor little parts of the iris that I'm butchering. I'll know all about them when we come back. So get your drawing, your background done, and I'll see you next time.